Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Look, if you're a GCSE pupil right now, buried under an absolute mountain of flashcards and feeling the heavy pressure of exam season, I hear you. Revising is just straight up tough. So today, our goal is pretty simple. We're going to take one of the most notoriously tricky topics on your syllabus, the Catholic theology of suffering, and flip it into a really clear, empowering framework. We're not just rote learning facts today, we want to actually understand this stuff so you can lock in those top marks. So let's jump right in.
Real quick, here's our roadmap so you can organize your notes. First up, the mystery of ambivalence. Then, the true cost of love. After that, we'll be exploring the Paschal mystery, building endurance and character, and finally, finding hope in hardship.
All right, section 1, the mystery of ambivalence. Let's start by just validating a very basic human truth. Suffering is undeniably hard. But Catholic theology adds a really fascinating layer to how we experience it. Okay, so here's a massive GCSE keyword you need to know: ambivalence. Literally, it just means having mixed feelings about something. Now, for Catholics, there's a strong ambivalence towards suffering. While it's incredibly hard, it isn't viewed as purely or completely evil. And why is that? Well, because Catholics view suffering as a profound mystery where God can actually bring about a greater good. It's kind of like the story of Job in the Bible. Remember when Job questioned all his intense suffering? God basically told him that human beings just aren't wired to fully grasp divine choices or see the massive overarching picture of the universe. Which brings us to a pretty stark contrast. Our normal, everyday human perception screams that suffering is purely bad and we should avoid it at literally all costs. But Catholic teaching presents this radically different paradigm: suffering as a blessing. If you look at the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus lists out those who are actively blessed, and his list is honestly kind of shocking by human standards. He specifically includes the poor, those who mourn, and those who suffer. In this theological framework, God's way of seeing things completely flips our perspective upside down. The lowest and the ones suffering the most are actually considered the closest to God. Even so, the Church fully admits how baffling this whole concept can be. Take a look at this quote from Pope John Paul II's famous encyclical on suffering, Salvifici Doloris. He writes, "We are conscious of the insufficiency and inadequacy of our explanations." That is a remarkably honest admission, right? Even the Pope is out here saying human explanations just fall short. We simply cannot know the fullness of suffering because we just don't know the fullness of God. But they do offer a powerful answer to the big why of suffering, which leads us right into our next point. Moving on to section 2, the true cost of love. If human logic can't totally explain suffering, the Catholic Church locates the ultimate answer in divine love. Think about real-life examples of commitment for a second. What does it actually mean to truly love someone or something? Well, it means doing anything for them, even if it requires a huge personal sacrifice. And because nothing in this physical world lasts forever, anything we love is eventually going to be gone. That means grief and suffering are just inevitable byproducts of caring about things. In a religious context, Jesus makes it perfectly clear that being a true disciple comes with a real cost. We show our ultimate commitment to our faith and to each other by what we're actually willing to suffer through on their behalf. So the absolute core takeaway here is this: love is impossible without suffering. According to John Paul II, if we want to find the true answer to the why of suffering, we have to look at the revelation of divine love. To have real, genuine love, we have to be absolutely ready to suffer. They are literally two sides of the exact same coin. All right, section 3, exploring the Paschal mystery. To really get this connection, we need to look at the ultimate example of it in action, the life of Jesus. Let's quickly map out the events at the end of Jesus' life, which is commonly known as the Passion. And hey, quick fun fact for your exams, the word passion actually comes from the Latin word for suffering. The sequence goes like this: Jesus was arrested, tried, tortured, crucified, and then resurrected. For Catholics, the suffering and death of Jesus wasn't just some tragic historical footnote. It was a supremely good thing for us, because this Paschal mystery is literally what saved all of humanity from sin. And this brilliantly illustrates the core dynamic of Catholic theology. Let's look at another quote from Pope John Paul II. Christ descends in a first phase to the ultimate limits of human weakness. In this weakness, there is accomplished his lifting up. When Jesus was nailed to the cross, he experienced the absolute limits of human powerlessness and a total emptying of self. But
And this is totally key for your revision notes because this ultimate weakness was followed by the immense, triumphant power of the resurrection. It means that the weaknesses of all human sufferings are capable of being infused with that very same power of God.
Which brings us to section 4, building endurance and character. So, how does all this ancient theology actually apply to your current revision struggles and everyday trials?
We can basically sum it up with a phrase you've probably heard a million times: no pain, no gain. Think of a sports training analogy. If an athlete is prepping for a marathon, they literally have to cause micro tears in their muscles through intense, painful exercise to build strength and endurance. Without that pain, the muscle just cannot rebuild stronger. The Catholic view of suffering operates on that exact same logic. Suffering is incredibly difficult, no doubt, but it's viewed as vital spiritual conditioning that builds our character.
The Apostle Paul lays out this exact step-by-step spiritual tempering in his letter to the Romans. He writes, suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not disappoint us. When you endure a trial, like, say, pushing through a brutal week of mock exams, it forces you to practice perseverance. That perseverance directly shapes who you are. It builds your character. And a strong character ultimately gives birth to a hope that just cannot be shaken.
Finally, section 5, finding hope in hardship. Let's summarize how empowering this framework can actually be for you as a student.
If you're revising right now and feeling completely overwhelmed, this theology is really designed to reassure you. When you're facing trials, keep this final thought from Pope John Paul II in mind regarding the hope that gets unleashed when we push through. He wrote that hope maintains the conviction that suffering will not deprive him of his dignity as a human being. Persevering through hard things is proof that suffering isn't going to get the better of you. It's not going to rob you of your fundamental human dignity. Instead, it's this incredible opportunity to draw closer to the divine and to forge an unbreakable inner strength.
So I want to leave you with one final question to think about. How will you use your current trials to build your character? Next time you're staring at a blank page, feeling the sheer weight of all this work, just remember the framework we just explored. The pain of the process isn't just a roadblock. It might actually be the very thing giving you your strength. Keep going, best of luck with your revision, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.